Playboi Carti and his Opium label is perhaps the most controversial group of rappers we've seen of this new generation, as we in real time experience how their rise to success and superstardom has been. But it's not necessarily all for good reasons.
The only thing that he cares about is what the world thinks of him, because he's a fucking narcissist.
Homicide Gang is a rap duo that consists of two rappers from Atlanta, Homicide Bino and Homicide Michi, who are heavily affiliated with Playboi Carti and rumored to be signed to Opium. Though Homicide Gang aren't as popular as Destroy Lonely and Ken Carson, they still are moderately successful, with them dropping a handful of albums like Fifth Amendment, Snot or Not, Snotty World, and Homicide Lifestyle, which was the fan favorite and have notable songs like Lifestyle, Stunt, and Guitars. But in February 2023, things would go on a downward spiral for this group in the worst way possible, when messages would leak online of Homicide Bino being intimate and texting minors as young as 15, and reading through it was very disturbing because not only did he find out her age, but he kept going along with it. Of course, Bino would deny the allegations and say that the messages were fake and altered and take it out of context, but with no proof of these claims, many fans were not budging for it at all, and he would release a statement on his Instagram story, not explicitly denying the allegations, but stating that he was dealing with some personal issues and would take a break from social media. And while this whole subject matter has never been investigated by the actual police, the reputation of Bino and Homicide Gang has completely went down the drain, especially considering that they weren't really on like that anyways. And another affiliate of theirs, Homicide Osama, has been caught texting minors too.
What?
Destroy Lonely and Ken Carson, though they're their own artists, they have a lot of similarities in common. Both of them are signed to Carti and are viewed as his proteges. They're both the new faces of this new generation of hip hop as the times has changed. They're both in their own right are highly successful in the music that they drop and release, having similar fan bases which co-align with each other. Both of them are cappers like Carti when it comes to promising new music too. And also, just like Carti, both of them are not really the nicest when it comes to their relationship with their girlfriends either.
Tell her! This is between us. Tell her how much you love her and what you just said.
Ken Carson would be physical to his girlfriend constantly, leaving cuts and bruises on her. And when the rumors about this arrest got out to the public, he initially lied about this whole incident, saying that he fought a dude. Well, until the police report came out and it was clear as day it was a female, and not just any female, his own girlfriend. And the writing was on the wall when the arrest video came out too.
She has injuries to her face.
What? I didn't see no injuries to her face. I didn't touch her.
You didn't touch her at all. Okay, how come she's saying that you did?
In June 2024, Destroy Lonely's ex would come out on Twitter saying how physical he was towards her due to a past relationship she had with Lucky, and claimed that he was physical towards her during the whole 21-hour flight to Germany, and saying that he also became mad because she didn't want to get up and roll a blunt for him either, and tried to call her mom to play victim too. But of course, Lone will quickly deny the allegations, saying that if anything, he was the real victim and she was physical towards him over 1,000 times, and he never cracked nobody's skull, just ask his manager, and he don't have to prove nothing to nobody on the internet either.
I don't understand why you even did this to yourself. This made you look so fucking stupid.
Dr. Dre's arguably one of the greatest hip-hop producers that's ever graced the genre of hip-hop ever, helping usher in gangsta rap during the late 80s and early 90s in its NWA days, pushing their early sound and image into the mainstream when it was frowned upon by the masses at the time, with this group single-handedly shifting the whole culture of rap and changing it forever.
Anything that I do, it always come from what y'all done, period.
Then only a couple years later, after leaving the group, Dr. Dre would popularize a new subgenre for the West Coast called G-Funk with another California native artist from Long Beach, and would make history. And as the years would pile on, it just seemed like whatever Dr. Dre touched was a hit. Whether it was during the origins of gangsta rap with NWA, the 90s with his partner in crime Snoop Dogg, his Death Row era with hella West Coast anthems, and even his aftermath days, with him not only releasing his most successful album of his career, 2001, but also being responsible for discovering guys like Eminem and 50 Cent, helping building up his empire, while people thought he was a washed up rapper at that point in his career. And as of 2024, Dr. Dre's probably had one of the greatest legacies in music history. He has the timeless rap anthems. He has or was involved in multiple classic albums for different eras. He's had the longevity factor unlike most of his peers. He's generated billions of dollars within and outside of music. And most importantly, the legacy he's left behind, not only in in music, but in pop culture itself, he's inspired generation after generation after generation, and it's the reason why his name still have strong value still to this day, right?
Are NWA really the bad boys of rap, or are they bad rap because they speak the truth about streets of LA?
I mean, it's no secret. They grabbed me by my hair and started slamming me up against the wall.
Throughout the 90s, as Dr. Dre was becoming a staple in the rap game during his Death Row era with Suge Knight, he was also making a case for how terrible of a human being he actually really was, starting off with the physical relationship that him and Michel'le had during this time period. And if you don't know who Michel'le is, she was basically a prominent R&B singer from the 90s who was signed to Death Row and curated songs like No More Lies, Something in My Heart, and Tupac's Running Streets. But Dre would physically assault, threaten, and cheat on her on a consistent basis, and even had another kid behind her back. And at the worst moment of this toxic relationship was when Dr. Dre allegedly pulled out a Glock and literally shot at her after a hostile argument, but thankfully missed.
You had mentioned there was some abuse that kind of happened between you and Dre?
Yeah.
How bad did it get?
I had 5 black eyes.
5 black eyes?
Yes.
So you were getting punched in the face and
Oh, I was getting dragged on the floor, shot at, yeah.
Shot at?
Yeah.
Dr. Dre's ex-wife Nicole would even come out as recently as 2020 in divorce documents claiming how physically Dr. Dre was in their 24-year marriage, even claiming that not once but twice on 2 different incidents that he threatened her with a gun pointed at her head and had multiple kids behind their back during their marriage. On January 27, 1991, Pump It Up TV host Dee Barnes was physically assaulted by an NWA group member, Dr. Dre, at an after-party event due to her doing interviews with both NWA and Ice Cube during their feud. And Ice Cube was seen mocking NWA and the DOC's voice as a sign of disrespect after the DOC was involved in a near-fatal car crash where one of his lungs had to be taken out, which would change his voice forever.
Ice Cube won't pump it up. I got all suckers 100 miles and running. Like to give a shout out to the DOC.
And by February 1991, Barnes would press charges on Dre where he would plead no contest, and by August that year it would be moved down to a misdemeanor and was only fined $2,500 and only had to do 240 hours of community service with 2 years of probation. And when asked about the incident, this was his response: "People talk a lot of stuff, but you know, somebody mess with me, I'm gonna mess with them. I just did it, you know? Ain't nothing you can do now talking about it. Besides, it ain't no big thing. I just threw her through a door."
Boy, ain't no fucking way, boy.
People also questioned Dr. Dre's loyalty throughout the years to some of his so-called closest friends, as we seen throughout the years how he screwed them over and left them behind when it wasn't convenient for him. Whether it was Eazy-E, Warren G, and even his boy Snoop Dogg, who was going through a murder trial that could have easily ended his career. And one of the key statements that the witness made while testifying against Snoop was him misidentifying the rapper as Dr. Dre instead. And with this statement obviously being wrong, many people from the Death Row camp and people from their close circles wanted Dr. Dre to come so that the defendant could show proof that how wrong the witness was with Dr. Dre being there. But instead, Dr. Dre never came because he was too busy and didn't want to be a part of that, which rubbed a lot of the Death Row members the wrong way, and even Snoop himself.
My take on what happened was that Snoop was on trial for murder, fighting for his life. Somebody had said that Dre was in the car. The jury believed that. We needed Dre to be there to say he wasn't there. And once they would have saw him, they would have known he wasn't there. And that would have saved Snoop's whole case. Because they would have saw that the witness that had said it was lying. And Dre never showed up. He was too busy. That's how they told me. When they told me that, I was like, well, no matter how dope he is, and Dre's one of my heroes in the music business, but I was like, no matter how dope he is, if you're not down for his homeboy, Snoop, who brought him back when he was just a relic, when niggas was dissing him, you know what I mean? Then I don't want to be a part of him. I don't want to be around him or nothing. Plus, I feel as though what's done in the dark will come to light. It's secrets that everybody's going to find out about that I don't have to play a hate or dry snitch about. That will come out and you'll find out for yourself and you'll know why I did it.
For nearly the past 15 years, no female rapper has dominated hip-hop like the way Nicki Minaj has. I mean, she has 5 Billboard Music Awards, 9 American Music Awards, a Brit Award, 8 MTV Video Music Awards, and even a Michael Jackson Vanguard Video Award. Not to mention that she also has 3 Genius World Records, having the most charted songs as a female artist on the Billboard Hot 100s, and selling over 100 million units throughout her whole discography, becoming the 4th female artist to do so, with Rihanna Rihanna, Taylor Swift, and Katy Perry being the only other artists to achieve this. And it just goes to show you how big and successful Nicki Minaj's career has really been throughout the years. Not just compare her to female artists, but any musician in general. Whether it is a big pop star like Beyonce, or one of the biggest rappers in the world, Drake. Either or, Nicki Minaj's name and legacy stands tall by them, especially in this new era of music, where more than ever now, we're seeing more and more female rappers completely take off, and then within 6 months completely fall off. And it's not like it's just one or two artists that we're seeing this happen to, it's damn near everybody. Every time you see a new female pop off and you think maybe one day she could take Nicki Minaj's spot, something in their careers always happen to prove to you that they're not worthy of that spot yet. And it just goes to show you and appreciate Nicki Minaj's run and how long she been dominating the game, time after time after time again. And you really start to wonder, will there ever be another female rapper as big as Nicki again? And at what cost did it take her to get her to this point where nobody's been her competition for the past 15 years?
You had made comments about other female rappers over the years. I think at one point you said there's only one female that doesn't collab with the others. And who are you talking about? I'm assuming Nicki Minaj?
Yeah, that's who I was talking about.
You better go conjure up your mother and say and apologize.
Lie on your dead mama, 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 lie on your dead, on your dead mama, on your dead mama. She said she lied on her dead mama, on her dead mama, lied on her dead mama.
Apparently, I just personally think Nicki's trying to gangbang in her 40s, which is a little odd, but okay. Keep in mind, she did threaten me and my family. She said, I know a lot about you and your family.
Nicki Minaj is the sorest winner in all of music.
I can see that.
She has been winning for like 10 years.
Right.
Since she officially came out, she's been going gold, platinum, single after single. Like, she just announced that she's one of the most streamed artists ever in the history of music. But whenever someone else starts popping, like a Cardi B, it's, oh, you know, when she doesn't win the Grammy or, you know, someone else gets some accolades, it's always a fucking problem.
So if you're somewhat tapped into the music industry and be hearing about how these artists act behind the scenes and how they treat people, more than likely the most common name you'll probably hear is Nicki Minaj. And to a lot of people, this shouldn't be a surprise, cause for years she been screwing them over, starting off with the whole Drake and Meek Mill beef back in 2015. We all know how that played out and who got the best of who when it came down to it. But what if I told you this all started from Nicki Minaj, according to DJ Academics?
Meek and Nicki, they go to the mall. Right? Apparently Meek got like 20 racks like in a bag or some shit, like some designer bag. Nicki and him, they go shopping, so they shut down the store. Then they go to pay for it. Now, apparently Meek had like 20 racks in a bag. Everything they pick out comes to $38,000. Apparently, they tell him it's 38, and apparently Meek looks at Nicki and says, hey, you want to pay for this on your card and I'll give you blah blah back, right? I hear Nicki snaps, and Nicki looks at him and says, Drake wouldn't done this shit. Yeah, Drake wouldn't do no shit like this. So she supposedly separates her shit from his, pays with her card, she dips. Meek is left in the store counting out the 20 racks, paying for his shit. Nicki takes the car service, dips, you feel me? And Meek is left to go home by himself. So, like, I guess on his way home, Meek tweets out, stop comparing me to Drake. He don't write his own raps. That's why he ain't and that's when he goes off.
In late 2018, Nicki would drop her highly anticipated album Queen, which would debut at 2 on the Billboard 200s behind Travis Scott's Astroworld. And Nicki would be pissed about this whole situation, calling out Travis for selling bundles, which got him to go #1 in his second week, and would claim the reason his tour tickets sold so much was because of his 1-year-old daughter at the time, Stormi. Yes, you heard that right. According to Nicki, his 1-year-old daughter was the reason why he sold so many tickets and his album went #1. And would claim that Spotify blackballed her own album since she debuted it on her own radio, but heavily promoted and playlisted her label mate Drake's.
Whole nigga of the week, of course, is Travis Scott. Travis Scott on Thursday, when he realized the Queen was about to have the #1 album in America, he and his label decided to have Kylie and baby Stormi put up a tour pass. He had her go and post and say, hey, me and Stormy can't wait to see y'all. How are you selling something that does not have anything to do with your album, but it's being counted on Billboard as album sales? But what we not gonna do is have this auto-tune man coming up here selling fucking sweaters and telling y'all he sold 500,000 fucking albums, because he didn't.
So Nicki Minaj threw a whole hissy fit for debuting at number 2 on the billboards, despite her album selling over 185,000 copies in the first week, which was still extremely good for her standards. But hey, I guess if you ain't number 1, it don't mean nothing. Now while this part I'm about to talk about don't necessarily have nothing to do with Nicki Minaj herself, her actions and how she moved about this whole situation was a little bit questionable. Nicki Minaj's brother, Jelini Mirage, was charged with SA on a minor back in December 2015 when the defendant was 38 years old and the victim was 11, and would constantly abuse her for over 2 years until she was 13 when everything came to light. But once he was arrested, he would quickly get bonded out on a $100,000 bail by his sister, who was 100% supporting him throughout this whole situation despite what happened, and would be found guilty of all charges and would face 25 years for it, with Nicki being by his side throughout the whole trial.
Jelani Mirage showed no emotion as the verdict was read. He was found guilty, as you mentioned, of predatory sexual assault against a child. He's facing 25 years to life in prison.
We only know Kenneth Perry for some really disgusting charges. We don't care if you're the big zoo in the hood. We don't care if you run the hood or if you killed 20 niggas. You're an extension of Nicki Minaj. You're her husband. You got married to a nigga who is a sexual offender, registered. If you always got a problem with other women or other people, at some point we gotta look at the common denominator. It's you. Whether you're jealous, whether you're like self-centered, whether you think people owe you some shit, why do you always have issues with motherfuckers?